Hi folks, thanks for joining me for this week's Stillwater tutorial. What you see in the vise is a combination of two deadly Stillwater patterns, the Cruncher and the Muskins. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the vise then is a Hanak H 230 barbless hook. This one's at size 10. It's on a medium wire hook and it's in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is the Veevus. It's the E04. It's at 8/0 and as you can see it's a red thread. So first thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of wax and a load of dubbing apparently onto my thread. I don't want the dubbing, I just want the wax. So make sure you rub your fingers through it, and all this does is puts a little heat into the wax and makes it adhere to the thread better. So I'm going to catch in just in behind the eye, and I'm going to run a wrap of thread all the way up the shank of the hook to approximately where a barb would be. Then I'm going to come in and remove my waste. Next then, I'm going to add my tailing fibres, and what I'm going to use for that is I've got a cape here, and it's a hen cape, it's a Whiting's hen cape, and I'm going to select one of the feathers from right at the top, and that'll look like this when I've taken it out. Now I don't want all this fluff at the edges here, so I can just remove all that. Same with the other side, but this will do for several flies, so I'm going to use this feather for several flies. But what I want to do is take approximately a good centimetre of fibres. I'll just put the feather to the side and I'm going to dress that up to the hook. Now it should protrude approximately 2 centimetres past the body of the fly. I'm going to catch that in like so and then just check. Fairly happy with that length. Then I can come all the way up, and then as I get to the thorax area I can just remove the extra bit of material here. Just want to keep that bulk for keeping the body nice and even all the way up. So as I take my thread back down, I'm going to add in my rib, which I've got here, and I'll just show you. That's the Veniards number 27. It's a silver wire rib, quite small. And I'm going to catch that in again where my thread is on my side, and then bring it all the way back down. And this just cuts down on thread wraps. So I've caught that in. Again, I've stopped my thread just approximately where a barb would be, and for the body of this one I'm going to be using some black pheasant tail. So I'm going to take between 3 and 4 fibres of the pheasant tail off the stalk, and I'm going to catch them in at the tip of the feathers here. So as you can see, I've kind of lined up the feathers as I've pulled it off the stalk, and I'm going to catch that in. Again, all the way up to the thorax area. Now I'm going to stop here. It might seem a little short, but I need to have the space here where I'm going to get my holographic red in to get that highlight that I want, just like a Muskins. So I've got great faith in both flies. You can use your fingers, but I'm going to use Hackle pliers to bring my body round. I just think I've got a bit more control. And while I'm doing that, I mean, crunchers have been around for a long time now, and they're great when you're looking for a fly that will fish just under the surface, nice and light. And the Muskin's the same. It's designed for the same kind of fishing, really. It's a lightweight fly that will fish in the top 3 or 4 feet of water. It's just accounted for so many trout over the years. So why not combine the two? So just as I get up to near where I'm going to finish. I'll bring my thread over to capture in my pheasant tail fibres, and then take away my waste. All good. Then I can grab my wire and come in the opposite direction to the way I wound the pheasant tail. I can wind that up the body. Now some people are quite prescriptive about how many turns go on to the body for your rib. I don't much bother with that. I'm happy with just whatever mood I'm in. So I've got a few wraps on there, and I've brought my thread back to where my body ends. Next, I'm going to bring in some prismatic tinsel. That's a fancy name for holographic tinsel. There is a difference, and somebody did tell me once, but I've forgotten. But it's basically a red holographic. I'm going to take a little length off. I don't need very much of this. And then I'm going to get a little bit of wax onto my thread. Sorry, the wax is covered in bits of hair for other things. There we go. And then I can catch that in just like so. And what I want to do is just build up a few turns of holographic. Maybe needs to be twice the width. I'm going to come back. It's tended to slip a little bit, but that's all good. It's all going to get covered up anyway. And once you're content, you've got it where you want it, or you've got as much on as you'd like. And this is down to personal preference, I suppose. You can trap that in and then simply remove your waste. So far so good. Next then, I'm going to use some Peacock herl to create the thorax. This has been dyed black, and I'm just going to grab 2 strands out from the pack there. I'm going to remove the 2 thin ends. That's where it's weakest, and I'm going to catch that in like so. What I've done is I've stopped my thread about 2mm shy of the eye of the hook. Again, with any kind of flies you're tying, it's crucial that you leave yourself that room to work. If you don't, you end up in a world of hurt. So I'm just catching in, and I'm pretty much just building the thorax with my Peacock herl. Then once I'm happy I've got enough, I'm going to come in, lock the herl into place with a couple of turns, get a couple of turns in front, and then come in with my snips and remove the waste. Okay, so far so good. So what we've got is the thorax of a cruncher and a little red glint of a Muskins there. Next then, same cape that I used for the tail. I've selected a feather from the bottom of the cape this time though, and I've already taken away the waste and added a little bit of a stalk that I can tie in. So what I want to do is have the concave part of the feather facing the fly. Then I can come over the top, capturing in that little stalk. Once it's secured, simply grab your hackle pliers, and what you want with this, depending on your preference, is I look for 2 to 3 turns. Some people like it much more lightly dressed than that. Some people like it heavier, but you'll find your own way. I kind of judge it by eye, really. If I think it's had enough, I come in as I'm doing now and catch in the edge of the feather, like so. Then I'm going to remove my hackle plier, lick the thumb and forefinger of my left hand, slick everything back and start to build my head. Once I've started the head, I know I can come in, grab the end of my hen hackle and just pull that away. Just licking the thumb and forefinger of my left hand again, so I make sure I get all that fibre out the way. Then to finish off the fly, simply add a little bit of UV resin. Then you can come in with your whip finish tool and finish off. Oh, that's just snapped away. I'll just zap that before it goes anywhere. I've got a little thread there I just want to remove. So not as neat a finish as I'd hoped, but I can still save that by simply adding a tiny drop to the head. And I'll just about get away with that. Cure it off. And there you have a Muskins Cruncher. I hope you enjoyed that. Why don't you give your own couple of favourite flies a go at melding them together and see what you can come up with. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please think about clicking the button. I'd really appreciate it.